Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Playboy?
Good?
Oh, Derek's tits.
All right.
I like sex.
Poop.
You know what that means? That's another episode of The Pint. Today we're going to be discussing a movie celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. That's right, 40th.
40.
1982's Fast Times at Ridgemont High. My name is Lloyd.
I'm John. Let's do this. We got Candy hanging out with us tonight. Candy, how are you?
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
At this point, if you are a Patreon member of the show, aka a Pint Insider, you heard Candy because Candy was on the show, let's say, I'm terrible at this stuff, a month ago on our Patreon episode where she picked the Marathon Man.
Yes.
All right. Now she's back on the main feed and hanging with us while we talk all about sausage pizza, I don't know, underage sex.
Hey, bud, let's party.
Carrots.
Blowjob carrots.
Oh, damn, we were going to bring carrots and practice our blowjobs.
You know what? I'm glad we didn't. I would not want to see me do that. And no offense to you, Lloyd, I don't want to see you do that.
Wow.
So Fast Times at Ridgemont High is 40 years old.
I can't believe it.
It's absolutely crazy. You saw that probably when you were like, 30,
I saw it
36?
I get the joke. I saw it in high school because I was in high school in 1982.
All right, Candy, was this a film you were familiar with back then, or?
I was not allowed to see it when it came out, but then I did see it once I was a little bit older.
Yeah, me too.
I was 11 when it came out.
Yeah, I was not 11. I was probably 7 or 6. I think it was just one of those movies that you heard so much about. And I think also by the time that I got around to seeing it, there was a short-lived TV show made like in 86 that didn't last like a season. I don't think I watched that, but I think it permeated as a 7-year-old kid, my whole life was action movies and some comedies. But this is kind of like a hang film, right? It's a comedy, but it's what you call a hang film. You're just hanging out with the characters, right?
Yes.
And that doesn't necessarily appeal to a kid my age at that point. But it would come around for sure because this is a fun one. Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out on August 13th, 1982. They put it out in only the western half of the United States. Did you read that, Lloyd?
Yeah.
At the time, regional releases were much more common, and they just assumed this was going to be a movie that was going to falter.
It would only fly over there.
They put it out, and then it did so well in the box office over there, they said, let's open it wide. They open it wide, and it ends up becoming,
once you open it wide, forget it.
It got open wide, and they dove in deep. And
balls deep.
Balls deep. People dug it. Directed by Amy Heckerling. She went on to direct another film about 13 years later that would almost have the same cultural impact for high school kids.
I think I know what you mean.
And more in my time of high school. I was actually 2 years out. Clueless. She directed Clueless. So Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah. Also one of your other favorite movies.
What's that?
Johnny Dangerously.
I have that here. Yeah, which you refused to put on our list for the Countdown podcast.
What?
He didn't like.
We had a top 10 feud. What was it? A versus podcast with the Countdown.
Great.
And we were waiting for one more entry, but there were so many others that I think were better.
I offered,
so I nixed it. Yeah.
He nixed it. I was a little.
What did we end up going with? Do you went with Pee-wee for that one?
Pee-wee, which I could agree with.
Yeah,
I could agree with Pee-wee being a great movie. This was written by Cameron Crowe. Cameron Crowe is he's a well-known director and writer. Jerry Maguire, Almost Famous. But he also had like a whole nother thing going on in the 70s. He was like a teenage writer for Rolling Stone.
Yep.
The character in Almost Famous, the Patrick Fugit character, is based on Cameron Crowe.
Yep.
So Cameron Crowe, after he graduated high school at 22 years old, he went undercover.
Yeah, right.
He went 21
pulled the
Jump
21
Street.
Jump Street.
Very strange. He changed his name to Dave Cameron, and he went to Claremont High School in San Diego, California. And he just infiltrated the school and hung out with like the punks and the jocks and
Stoners.
And then wrote a book which came out in 1981 called Fast Times at Ridgemont High, a true story.
Yep.
A year later, it comes out as a film. Did you know this was a true, like some of these people are real people just with the names changed.
Right.
So I knew a little bit about that, but I didn't realize the undercover bit. That's really interesting.
Yeah, he did not. I think the only person that knew was the principal, maybe. And they say he said he ingratiated himself, like he went to he went and did these things. He didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, he became a high school student.
He became a high school student, and I didn't read how long he stayed, but I don't think it wasn't like a whole year. I don't think that would be kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, Rat was like one of the main characters. He had a friend named Ratner or something like that.
So there's a character in this Mark Ratner, and the real person's name was Andy Rathbone.
That's it, Rathbone.
And he ended up being one of the authors of many of the For Dummies books. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. He ended up,
you know what? I can picture that name right now.
Yeah. So he ended up writing a bunch of those For Dummies books. This was filmed all over Los Angeles. A couple of little key points. Damone's apartment was in North Hollywood. The mall exteriors were in Santa Monica at a place called Santa Monica Place. It was a mall back then. Let's see here. What else we have? Sherman Oaks, California, were the interiors of the Ridgemont Mall, but it was a mall called the Sherman Oaks Galleria. And the high school was Van Nuys High School in Van Nuys, California. The film was filmed between 1 month. It was 5-week filming,
Wow.
November of 81 to December of 81. So pretty quick. You're making a teen high school comedy.
And it's made a cultural impact that lasts forever.
Quick,
Yeah.
right? Quick, and and we'll talk about it in a minute. But it has changed how men have masturbated through the years, right? I mean, there's one
Lock
scene.
the door.
There's one scene
Lock
that
the
has
door.
changed everybody's masturbation techniques and what they think about sometimes. So,
Right.
Manster, let's talk about the cast.
Shabuya roll call. Woo.
Who is in Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
This has got a great cast. And at some point later, I'm going to name a bunch of people who were also considered for this cast.
Okay.
And it'll blow you away. All right. So we have Sean Penn, future Academy Award winner.
Mr. Haiti.
Also as Cameron Crowe, future Academy Award winner.
Yep.
As Jeff Spicoli, the ultimate surfer dude, right? He ad-libbed, he made up a lot of the lines. A lot of people in this movie were pissed off at him during the filming because he was, basically method, so he wanted to be Jeff Spicoli
He was method even back
off
then.
camera. Yeah.
There was a story about how Cameron Crowe wanted his parents to come to the set. And Cameron Crowe didn't direct this, obviously. Heckerling did. But, obviously he's the writer, so he has some leeway. And the only day he can get his parents to set, for whatever reason, was Spicoli and Mr. Hand's scene in his bedroom. And Sean Penn had a rule that nobody could be on set when he did his scenes that was not part of the crew.
Oh.
Cameron Crowe tells the story that his parents are there. Nobody tells Sean Penn. Sean Penn never sees them. They film the scene. Parents leave. Sean Penn comes to Cameron Crowe and goes, "There was somebody here, wasn't there?" And he goes, "I'm really sorry. Did you see him?" And he goes, "No, I felt them."
Oh, my God.
Now, take that as you may. Sean Penn, a super douchebag, probably. But, it's still pretty funny. It's still pretty funny.
That's good. Then we have Jennifer Jason Leigh, a future Oscar nominee.
Yep.
As Stacey Hamilton. I think she's just right for this because she's a pretty girl, but she's not prettier than Phoebe Cates, at least in this, this movie.
Nobody is. I'm gonna put it right out there right now. I'm gonna embarrass myself. My wife's gonna be pissed at me when she listens to this.
Yeah, she will.
I loved Phoebe Cates and Gremlins. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was in love with Phoebe Cates and Gremlins. And then, so I was like 9 when Gremlins came out, innocent 9-year-old kid. And then a couple years later, I discovered that she's in this fucking movie. And she's amazing. Phoebe Cates is just gorgeous. And I love Phoebe Cates. That's it. That's what I'm trying to say. You
Yeah,
understand what I'm saying?
She's great.
Really quickly, and it was probably 1999-ish, and there was this fantastic Japanese department store on Fifth Avenue in Midtown in Manhattan, and I popped in the middle of the day, work break, and Phoebe Cates walked by me. And if this was 99-ish, and this film, so gorgeous.
I was gonna say, if you say she has like a weird lazy eye, I'm gonna throw you out of here.
No, I cannot. I literally almost fell over.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if she wasn't
Breathtaking.
famous, I would have noticed her. She just absolutely stunning. Kevin Kline is a lucky man.
Yeah, Kevin Kline, she pretty much retired from acting.
Yes.
Like very early. Like I think Drop Dead Fred was like her last big like thing that she did. And then she married Kevin Kline and had kids and kind of like let him do his career, and she just took over, I think, motherhood and like stuff like that. But yeah. Well, I love Phoebe Cates.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I missed out a second ago. Matthew Broderick was also up for that Sean Penn role.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Would not have worked.
And in the Stacy role, we have Brooke Shields, Ellen Barkin, Jodie Foster, and Diane Lane.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, Diane Lane
Diane-
would too hot.
I like Diane Lane.
I like Diane Lane
Too hot
too.
for that role. Not enough difference between her and Phoebe Cates.
Jennifer, you said it best. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who me and Larry did for the Patreon, we did a backdraft episode, and that was like 9 years later than this. She's not a great actress. Like, I think she gets away with some of the stilted.
She gets away with the crazy ones.
Well, she's great in Hateful Eight,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that's 40 years later.
Yep.
She's good in this movie, but she's also young. So, like, some of her kind of stilted line readings,
Nervous, yeah.
you think she's a nervous kid. Backdraft, she's terrible in, but she works in this movie. Diane Lane would have been hotter than Phoebe Cates, maybe, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you said, it would not have worked. You had to kind of have this hierarchy
Yep.
of how these girls like looked and acted, and that's not me being a sexist. That's the part of the story,
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Phoebe Cates' character, she's a bullshit artist because she acts like she knows all this stuff, and she's
Yeah.
got this boyfriend Doug in Chicago, but she doesn't know anything. Like when she says, there's a scene where she says, like, when they're talking about sex, and she goes, when the guy finishes, how much comes out? She says a quart.
A quart.
She immediately changes it because the other girl laughed, but in my mind, she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of things. And the scene where, we kind of joked, in the scene where she's showing her the blowjob on the carrot, she clearly doesn't know what she's doing. Right? And I don't mean that to be rude. I just mean it's one of like the little things I like about this movie a lot is that like they're all just kids.
Yes.
In the end.
And they're nice kids.
Overall,
Which is
yeah.
lovely.
They're pretty good kids.
Yeah. Mike Damone, he kind of pisses me off. And also, we'll get to him. How the fuck's this guy in high school? But anyways, I'm
Right,
sorry.
right,
Go ahead.
we'll get there.
Right.
Then we have Judge Reinhold as Brad, Stacy's older sister. Also up for that role, Tom Hanks.
Brother, by the way.
What did I say?
Sister, yeah.
Yeah, totally brother. Judge Reinhold, he was, I didn't write it down, so I may have the connection wrong. He was actually dating Amy Heckerling's like roommate or something like that.
Yeah.
And ended up just sort of slipping into the role because no one else worked.
Yeah, and he went on. Funnily, I never thought of this before because his role is so small. He's in Gremlins too. He's also
Right.
in Gremlins. He's one of the bank teller. He's like kind of a dickhead,
Right.
and he disappears in the first part of the movie, but with Phoebe Cates as
There's
well.
also three people in this movie that are all in Better Off Dead.
Yes, yeah,
And very similar, some of them situations. Then we have Robert Romanus.
yeah. Romanus, I think.
Yeah. As Mike Damone. That is the older friend, scalper, ticket scalper, kind of a douchebag, but just taking advantage of a situation.
Yeah, they do it. You know what? So
I mean, he's kind of cool, but then kind of not cool.
Yeah.
he's a kid.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. They're all kids. We have to remember, even if they look a bit older, like they're someone's father.
There are definitely hyper situations in this movie, but like it all comes down to like real stuff that happened to everybody here.
Yeah.
Like, not exactly everything, but like Damone has a friend who has this girl he's interested in, and she's kind of hypersexual and learning about herself. She comes on to him
Yep.
and he has sex with her because that stuff happens sometimes.
That's what happens.
And he gets her pregnant, and then he gets scared and he doesn't do the right thing. And it's all real, right? there's a million kids out there that have done this. There's a million kids out there. There's a million guys my age or your age that look back on shit like that and go, I can't believe.
Right.
So it's real in the end, right?
Right.
Do you, I mean, you said they're all nice and they're all nice, but do you agree that like the situations feel lived in? Like this is a real like life in high school.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I went to high school in Florida. I graduated in 89. So the fact that they thought that this film wouldn't translate outside of the West Coast is bizarre to me, because when I first saw it, however old I was, it wasn't that soon after it was in the theaters, I felt it. And I was in middle school, I think.
Right.
And it was like, this could be Florida.
A lot of the pain of growing up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Next, we have Brian Backer as Mark Ratner. This kid's great. I mean, he works in a movie theater, right? He's geeky looking.
Gotta love the rat.
You gotta love the rat.
Yeah.
When he goes to say hi to Stacy, he just goes right for it. You know,
he's
under the influence of his friend Mike. My friend Mike has some pretty good advice on how to pick up chicks.
He does.
I'm gonna have to say, pretty
does.
good advice.
He also has one of I've always felt like one of the, it's physical comedy and it's not his performance, but when they're at that restaurant and those giant fucking chairs.
Oh, the chairs just swallow them up.
They go to a German restaurant on a date and they're in these chairs that are 4 times bigger than they are.
Right.
Right. I love that.
It's such a good scene.
I love that.
And I get nothing but what? Knockwurst?
Yeah.
Not worse than about 5 Cokes because
right.
he's stalling because he forgot his fucking wallet at home.
Yeah. Mark Ratner, he's a great character. Phoebe Cates next as Linda Barrett. Phoebe Cates, we already talked about her. She has the best scene, probably the most memorable scene as a kid that I can remember.
I would
that
almost
scene made, remember my music list, the
Yes.
needle drop music?
Yep.
Yeah, Moving in Stereo by the Cars. As soon as I hear that song, even the slightest bit of that song, my head goes right to this scene.
I would guarantee if somewhere someone has compiled a list of VHS rental tapes that had a wear spot in them.
It did.
I'm not even being funny.
No,
I
it had a wear
guarantee
spot.
that tape probably got worn at that moment that she takes her bikini top off.
Yep.
Comparatively to any other movie out there.
Yep.
Right. And apparently Judge Reinhold. So there's a scene. This is a movie.
Oh yeah, I got some.
I want to say this real quick. This is a movie that I think our conversation about this movie is going to stem off of a lot of the talk about the characters.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard to go through this movie linearly because it's just, you know what I mean? It's just like it's days in the lives of. So I just want to say real quick. There's the famous scene where Judge Reinhold's character comes home from work.
His third job, maybe?
His third job through the course of the movie. And, Phoebe Cates is swimming in his pool. She's friends with his sister. And he's masturbating while watching her through the window. And he's fantasizing. I love in his fantasy he's wearing a suit, too.
Yeah,
because
right.
He's wearing a pirate costume, which is fucking, like, demasculating. He works at this fast food place. And in his fantasy, when she comes out of the pool and takes her top off and kisses him, he's wearing a suit. But, like, he apparently brought a dildo.
He really brought a dildo.
He brought a dildo in and was...
So he masturbated a dildo.
He masturbated a
during the
dildo.
scene, and Phoebe Cates' expression
is real.
Was real.
Oh, wow.
Because he told nobody. He apparently like put it down his pants, went in, did the scene, and when she walks in, the coverage catches her, which she's supposed to act surprised anyway.
Right.
But then she sees this giant dildo. Pretty funny.
Perfect. Then we have Ray Walston, awesome, as Mr. Hand. Also in this role, could have been Fred Gwynn. He turned it down due to the sexual content.
Sexual nature, yeah.
But Mr. Hand is so perfect in this movie, and a lot of that is his own personality.
Yep.
And a lot of his interaction with Sean Penn was because of the clash of their personality. It was great.
They're great. Candy, do you agree that when you watch Fast Times as a young person, you don't like Mr. Hand? When you're an older person, you understand Mr. Hand.
Absolutely. And the fact that he goes to see Jeff, to see Sean Penn at the end shows that he cares, and I just think he's fantastic.
Yeah,
his approach with the students is great.
He's a super frustrated teacher.
Yeah.
That just wants to teach.
Yep. Yeah. Just wants to be heard.
Just wants to be heard, just wants to do his job, and he's tired of people fucking around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Candy brings up with him going to his house, Spicoli. What a fantastic. He's like, look, you wasted my time. I'm wasting your time.
8 hours.
So good.
Yeah.
Such a brilliant scene.
Yeah. He's a badass.
Yeah.
He is great. Ray Walston is awesome.
What else? What was he?
My Favorite Martian.
Yeah, My Favorite Martian
was his big thing. Yeah.
Scott Thompson as Arnold. Now, Arnold is the one.
He's the kid that
He's kind of like the second of the friends.
he's the one that gets the job at the All American Burger. He takes the leak,
Yeah.
and that's when Brad gets fired.
And he knocks on the door and says, I hope you enjoy your piss.
Yeah, he's a minor character.
It's a great scene with him and Judge Reinhold, because earlier on in the movie, Judge Reinhold is sort of like big man on campus kind of guy.
The Judge Reinhold story arc, the Brad story arc, is like from the top of the world to the bottom, and then it ends with he's the top again.
Right.
It's a weird top, right? Like his idea of like being the big man on campus is that he works at a burger place.
Yeah, right.
He's got a girlfriend for 2 years that he's clearly lying to about ever having sex with.
Yeah, beautiful girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's telling everybody, oh yeah, we do it all the time. And then
She's great in bed.
And then right in the restaurant, he's arguing with her about why they haven't slept together yet.
Yep.
He ends up getting fired. Kind of these humiliations like that he ends up going through the job at the pirate shack.
Pirate
whatever it's
outfit
called.
while he's driving, and Nancy Wilson's in the car next to him.
It is Nancy Wilson. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Future Mrs. Cameron Crowe.
Yes.
And then future not. They got divorced. But and then at the end of the movie, he
gets to come up and
he's got his third or fourth job, and he gets his moment again.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got that really good arc. It's like a mountain.
But yeah, there's this funny scene where I think they're in the gymnasium, and he's got his head up high and he's talking with his buddies, and this other dude, this Arnold character, comes up to him. He's like, "Yeah, I gotta ask something. I'm not too happy. The guys at Bison Burger, or
Bronco
Burger, and Judge Reinhold's got that look. He starts nodding his head. He's like, "Yeah, I expected this. I got you, man. I got you covered.
I'll talk to
you got a
Dennis
spot."
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love that little like bit they have together where he's showing him how to put the burger together.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What's the secret sauce here?" He's like, "Thousand Island dressing." What's in a Bronco Burger? Ketchup and mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Even when Judge Reinhold is driving in to school on the first day, and he owns the world.
Looking good. Yeah.
And he's like, I made you see God or something to that one girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just confident and cute, and they're just nice kids. They are just kids having fun.
Yeah.
And he there's never a point in the movie other than when, he lies about the sex, which all guys have done at some point stupidly, especially that age. But then the scene where Stacy has to go for the abortion and he's there for her.
He's there.
Yes.
He's standing outside just waiting for her.
And at no point, even when there's a couple other scenes between them earlier in the movie, you never get the feeling that these are two siblings that don't like each other. Right. He gets mad at one point because you have to clean the pool, and she's like, "You clean the pool," and he's like, "I took the garbage out." That's just regular sibling shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you, I don't know if you ever really thought about it. There's no adult. This whole movie is from a kid's perspective.
100%.
There's no adults other than the teachers that you have to see in the class.
There's one parent. It's Brad and Stacy's mom when she puts her to bed when she sneaks out.
Yeah.
That's the only parent I think you see in the whole movie, or at least that you deal with of the kids.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, pretty interesting way to shoot that. Then we have the awesome Vincent Schiavelli as Mr. Vargas. The guy, this guy he's not a superstar by any means, but he's got that look, man. The eyes, what would you call that? The way his eyes sort of angled down.
He's kind of sunken
sort of
in.
droopy. And
Yeah.
yeah, this guy's instantly recognizable. Like the second you see him, and he played the exact same character in Better Off Dead.
That's right. And we just did Batman Returns with Julio from the Contrarians, and he plays the leader of the Penguins gang. He's got he's an organ grinder, and he's got a monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 10 years later, and he looks a little bit different. He passed away not too long ago too.
Yeah, and I think he's the only actor who was in the TV series you mentioned.
I think there was him and a couple other minor people.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Candy, did you know this? This is a trivia for you. In the movie, we meet his wife at the end during the dance.
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Vargas. She's very buxom, very,
Yes.
very, very beautiful. Did you know that's Lana Clarkson, the woman that Phil Spector killed in real life?
I read about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. I love that scene where she shakes the kid's hand and he's just holding her and she's just trying to pull her hand away.
They're all just staring at her. It's we've never seen anyone over the age of 18 who's attractive before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that about Phil Spector. Wow.
Yeah. That's the woman he murdered and all that shit that went on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we have Amanda Weiss as Lisa, who is Brad's girlfriend in the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah, she plays this kind of character a lot.
Better Off Dead.
Yeah, Better Off Dead.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, she showed up in all those kind of movies back then, but I don't know what she's doing now.
No, I think I follow her on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm 90% sure I do for some reason. She's still out there and, probably acting. I don't know about that part, but she's on Twitter.
Yeah.
So either it's a bot or it's her.
And I like earlier, early in the movie, Judge Reinhold is practicing in the mirror. He's rubbing something off of the mirror in the bathroom.
Oh,
It's like dickhead or cocksucker. Or
It's-
something like that.
It's even worse. It's like something like "fuck your pussy" or something. The word pussy,
I got
Fat
the
hairy
genitalia
pussy.
wrong.
fat hairy pussy.
Yeah, fat hairy pussy, big
Wrong
fat.
genitalia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in the same neighborhood.
I was below the navel.
Yeah, you were down south.
But he's practicing in the mirror how he's going to break up with her.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then when she does it to him, he's fucking all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But that's something.
But of course, that's so real, you know?
When have you? Not that you're saying about a breakup, but when have you ever had an idea in your head to do something and you're all for it, and then someone does it before you
Right.
to you, and you're like, "Fuck you," Everybody's had that happen. Whether it's a job, I'm going to quit my job. Well, they fired me instead. Like,
Right.
well, fuck that. You can't fire me. I was going to quit. That's what he does.
Exactly.
You want to get there first?
Yep.
Then we have D.W. Brown as Ron Johnson. I really wish they would have made his name Rod Johnson.
One of the most disturbing parts of this whole movie, and again, it's not his fault as a character, but he's 26 and she's 15.
Right. D.W. Brown is only 7 months older than Jennifer Jason Leigh in real life.
I didn't write it down. There's only 2 actors in this whole movie that are teenagers. Phoebe Cates, which she's supposed to be a little older.
Right. She's the older one. She's
Phoebe
really
Cates is
younger.
19, and Nicholas Coppola, aka Nicolas Cage, who lied about his age,
17.
is 17 in
Yep.
this. Every other actor is in their 20s, or Robert Romanus is 56, in my opinion. Candy,
Definitely.
does this guy look like? I mean, you've
Even
seen him.
his accent, he's like
He's from
an
Brooklyn.
East Coast Brooklyn, like 30-year-old. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, we've all seen movies and TV shows where, look, let's go back to 1992. Luke Perry was not a high school kid,
Right.
right? But like this, every time I see this, I'm like, I wish they had just made Damone like an older friend who doesn't go to the school.
Yes.
It would have made so much more sense if he just happened to be Rat's friend, who was a scalper and everything. But instead, he's a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yep. Yep. So D.W. Brown, and he was super creepy when what were they like? Oh, they went to a dugout. Right.
Again,
he takes her to a dugout,
Yeah.
like a baseball dugout, and says, "Oh, you're 19, right? Yep." And then they bang.
They bang, and as they bang again, I felt like it felt real. That
But it felt
she's
creepy.
It felt creepy, but she's under him. It's her first time. It kind of hurts.
Yeah.
And then she's staring at the ceiling, and it's graffiti that says "Disco sucks," and
Yes.
she's focusing on that.
Right.
Like she's not
She's
thinking.
not enjoying.
She's not enjoying it. It's like this is not what she, And I think to her, because of all of her conversations with Linda, is and Linda even says it after. You just got to keep doing it until you get better at it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
It
it's
gets
just
way better.
I like that framing. And I also it's a little weird. We'll talk about the soundtrack, I'm sure. But every time she gets in one of these situations, Jackson Brown, somebody's baby,
Yeah, right.
starts to play.
They played it twice, I think.
I think 2 or 3 times.
Each time that she's with somebody.
Yeah.
Yep. Then we have Forrest Whitaker, another future Oscar winner,
That's right.
as Charles Jefferson, big ass football player. I know he's a big guy, but he looks so much bigger in this show. Maybe it's the way they film
I think
him.
he's leaner, so he looks taller.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, that could be.
he's traditionally a heavier guy. I
Right.
think it's just he's lean.
He's younger and
He's
leaner.
younger and leaner.
Yeah, he's a machine.
And one of my favorite memes of all time is a picture of Forrest Whitaker. It says, "What happens when you're on Dayquil and NyQuil at the same time?" Because his eyes do that weird thing. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh man, yeah, and they have that good scene. So there's a scene with Jefferson's younger brother and Spicoli, and they're driving around in the Camaro. Is it Camaro?
He has a Camaro that was a gift from an alumni in his sophomore year.
Yeah.
To play, which is weird. Like that's usually a college thing. You just go to high school and play football, but like someone gave him a Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they trash the
They
Camaro.
trash the Camaro and then come up with an absolutely brilliant scheme to not get in trouble for it.
Which I think is subversively, I don't know, Candy, if you agree with me, is subversively a really cool moment to show you that, yes, Spicoli is a stoner, but he's not fucking dumb.
Yes.
Right, yeah,
He's
totally
he's a
clever.
caring person too.
Well, caring person, yes, but he figures out.
not dumb.
He puts it together.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do? I just destroyed this car. Makes it look like the opposing. We get to a point where it's all about like. I love the fact that it's Lincoln High and it's assassinate
Assassinate
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah, assassinate Lincoln signs everywhere.
all over the place. But like he makes it a point to like bring the car back to the school, spray paint it, and we're going to kill you, and courtesy of Lincoln.
Right.
And we get the great football scene where Jefferson just fucking kills everybody. But it shows you that Spicoli's not an idiot.
Yeah.
He's just a fucking dude who likes to have a good time.
Yep.
And his face when everyone's crowding around the car and he sees that his little plan works.
Yeah.
And he's so proud of himself. It's
Yep.
just, it's great.
Yeah.
He's got that grin. You're like, you are a smart guy.
And the little brother's with him, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm not sure who this one is. These are some minor people. Kelly Maroney as Cindy.
Kelly Maroney is probably best known. She plays the cheerleader in this.
Yeah.
She is also the cheerleader in Night of the Comet. Have you ever seen that with the two sisters?
No.
Okay, so it's a cool movie from like 84, science fiction horror. And then she's also the lead character in Chopping Mall.
Oh, that is right.
Yeah, Kelly Maroney.
Just saw someone else in Shopping Mall.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Right. Met Barbara Crampton this
Barbara
weekend.
Crampton
That
at
was
CT
very
Horror
cool.
Fest.
Yep. Then we have Eric Stoltz as Stoner Bud. This was his film debut.
Yep. And Anthony Edwards, right?
And Anthony Edwards.
He is a perfect example. Candy, let me ask you this. A perfect example of seeing someone that we know in adulthood suffers from male pattern baldness.
Oh, wow.
Who had one of the greatest heads of hair. He's got that bullish type, late 70s, early 80s haircut. And then you're like, wow, this is the same fucking guy that like in ER.
Yeah, like 2 years later in ER.
Right, looks like a fucking cue ball.
Yeah. I mean, even in Top Gun.
Yeah, much shorter and spiky.
So I sat behind him a couple of years ago at a book signing event. It was a book reading, very long story. And he was sitting next to Mara Winningham, who he's either married to or they're together. And I was like, are they together? I'm Googling it. And apparently they really are. And he looked great, but he did not look like Anthony Edwards.
Right.
I had to look, it took me a couple of times to realize that it was him. Mara Winningham was totally recognizable. And I was like, Goose, but I didn't say anything.
You big stud.
You big stud.
Goose is dead.
He didn't have much to do in this movie, and
No.
maybe one, maybe two lines.
Him and Stoltz have if it was not Eric Stoltz and Anthony Edwards, you'd never remember them other than being Spicoli's friends.
Right.
It's just on hindsight when you watch it and go, fuck, that's Anthony Edwards and Eric Stoltz.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple more. James Russo as the robber in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been watching this place, man.
Nicholas Coppola, another future Oscar winner, as the Brad's bud at work. He was in a couple scenes. This was also his film debut, and I think the only time he was credited as Nicholas Coppola.
Yes, and then he went to
And
Cage.
now he's Nicolas Cage.
And he lied about his age because 18-year-olds could work more hours than 17-year-olds could.
Yeah.
So he was 17, he lied. He actually, I don't remember what role it was. He was up for a bigger role. And they found out he was 17 and said, you can't have this role because there's going to be too much filming and too much night shoots. So then they let him stay in the movie, and that's why he's only in so much.
Because you can only work certain hours.
Right.
One or two more. Taylor Negron as the pizza guy.
I love Taylor Negron.
Isn't he always a pizza guy?
He is in The Last Boy Scout, the Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans action movie. He's like the main bad guy's henchman.
Okay.
And he's like super like dangerous, and like he's always he calls Bruce Willis's character's name is it Jimmy? But he calls him James, I think. I'm coming for you, James. But like, it's funny to see him in this. He passed away a couple years ago too.
Ah, bummer.
But yeah, he's Mr. Pizza Guy.
Yeah.
When he comes to the
great
door,
scene.
it's like
That's a
fucking great scene.
I know.
Mr. Hand is like handing out the pizza.
But that's the great thing
That's
about
a
Mr.
great
Ham, though,
line.
is like he just deflects and fucking. It's not like he gets frustrated. He just, you know what? We're gonna have pizza.
Like, you're right. It is your time and my time and everyone else's time.
yeah, that's fucking
good.
classic.
Yep. And we already talked about this. Nancy Wilson as the beautiful girl in the car.
Who sees Brad, who is giving her the eyes, and he thinks at first it's all working, and then she laughs at him and takes off, and he realizes because he's dressed like a fucking pirate.
Is he dressed like a pirate
In
because
the
he works
car.
at the fish and chips?
Yes.
The Captain Hook?
He leaves. They tell him he's got a big delivery to go to IBM.
Right.
He goes in the back room to change, and the guy's like, no, you're representing us. You're gonna wear our stuff. So, and then he gets pissed off after that happens, and he throws all the meat. He takes a bite of one of like the fish, the fried fish pieces, and he's like grossed out by
he
it.
throws it out. Yeah.
Which I found weird. I thought if you worked there, wouldn't you have at least tried their food at some point, like just randomly?
Yeah.
I guess you would.
But then he throws all the food out and like just says, "Fuck it, like
Fuck
I'm
it.
done.
Right.
I'm done."
So big cast list, a lot of fun people in there.
Super big cast list. It kind of all centers around the Stacy character, right? Like she kind of is. She's not the main character, but she's kind of the impetus for us meeting these other people.
Yeah, she's sort of like the center of the wheel.
Right. Her story arc in this is essentially she's this 15-year-old girl. She works in the mall at Perry's Pizza with Linda, who's Phoebe Cates. And it's her journey as a 15-year-old girl, starting with, she can go either way. She's sexually curious. She's aggressive, right? To an extent. Like she's a little aggressive.
Yeah, she wants it.
Yeah.
And she's at the point where she could end up becoming, and I hate to say this like the wrong way, a whore or not. And as the movie like goes along, you don't know what's going to happen right away because she has sex with the stereo salesman and it's not a good experience. She meets Mark Ratner and you're like, oh, she's going to like fall in love with this kid or have a good relationship. She sleeps with his friend Damone. She gets pregnant from Damone.
But before that, she went out with Mark.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But she tried with him, but he didn't want it.
He did not want it.
He got nervous.
He got nervous.
He got so nervous, yeah.
He got nervous.
Which is kind of sweet.
Which is sweet.
Was.
And it's also
I
like,
felt so bad
you got to
for him.
kind of
Because
understand.
he
Like,
kind of turned around to go back too, but then she had turned the light off. So,
But she felt rejected.
yeah.
And doesn't she come out in like a robe?
she changes. She says,
When they
She's
go
like,
home,
"Are
yeah,
you
she
like-
invites him in and she
Their
changes into
parents
a
are out of
robe.
town.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on.
oh, yeah.
She's handing it to him on a platter.
She wants to show him her Polaroids from youth, right?
Yes.
And then, she gives him the move and he goes for it. And then he's like, I got to go. He's nervous,
Yeah.
He leaves.
Have to get my sister's car back.
Yeah, and then Damone talks him into, you got to go for it with her. And then Damone ends up, this is where I say she could be going one way or the other because she seems to suddenly get fixated on Damone.
Yeah.
There's a scene where she's in class and she's writing on the notebook like Mrs. Mike Damone.
Yep.
So she's a 15-year-old girl that cannot keep like her thoughts straight. Like she's excitable.
Right.
In the end of the movie, we find out that she ends up with Ratner. And that's great. It's cool. It kind of goes full circle. And I think a large part of her character development is she has to have an abortion.
Right.
Right.
Right. And
Definitely.
that's probably, which is probably for many, many guys and girls, a moment of, I got to figure shit out. Right. But we also meet, as we said, Brad, her brother. And we talked about his kind of arc as it goes along.
Yeah, going back to Mike.
Damone,
Mike and Rat. So before that date, right before that date, I think, Mike is giving Rat 5 tips. Do you remember? I have them all. Do you remember them?
I will attempt them, but I will say this first, something I noticed, which I never noticed before. There's a movie out right now called Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
That was Paul Thomas Anderson, and it was named, I had read this, I'd never seen the movie, named after a record store chain in California in the 70s and 80s. Licorice Pizza is the name of the store they're talking in front of.
Right. And you can see the sign for the licorice pizza. Yep.
All right. Candy, do you know any of these 5 things? I will say one is if you're going to make out, it's got to be side 1 of Led Zeppelin 4.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Right, that's the last
That's
one.
the most important one.
Right, right.
All right. First of all, you never let on how much you like a girl. And it's funny when they're doing this because he's doing all these different scenarios and like they're in like a record store and he sees a cardboard cutout of Deborah Harry. He's like, "Oh, hey, Debbie." It's such a good scene. So never let on how much you like your girl. Number 2, you always call the shots. Don't let the girl call the shots.
But Candy, by the way, please jump in. Are these things that would work or you're looking for?
Oh, totally no.
Okay, totally no. So Damone doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, number 3.
There's a reason why he's single.
Number 3, act like wherever you are, that's the place to be.
I do like that
I
one.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep. Number 4,
Confidence.
when you're ordering food, find out what the lady wants and order for her.
I think that is like very 1940s.
Very.
I think that works probably in because it is funny though when they go to on the date the next night, it's the opposite. She orders doesn't she order the knockwurst and he just says I'll have the same?
Yes.
Yes.
So he doesn't do that for her. He basically just copies her.
Copies her
Yeah.
and gets all the
Exactly,
Cokes, and they got a table of like knockwurst and Coke.
And the server, the waitress in that scene is just.
She's so
could
Yeah, she
kill
got
you.
that German-
She can kill you. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
and she's so patient with him because not only so he loses, he doesn't have his wallet. He has to call Damone, get the wallet, blah blah blah. Damone comes in, gives him the wallet. He orders 2 more Cokes to give him time.
Yeah.
She brings the Cokes out and they leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number 5, and now this is the most important one. When it comes to making out, whenever possible, put on side 1 of Led Zeppelin 4.
All right. So how did you feel when in the next scene it
Right.
opens them on the car and it's Cashmere?
And it's Cashmere. So there's a lot of controversy about that. But the way I've always seen it, the controversy is he tells them to play Led Zeppelin 4.
And they're not making out.
No, they're not making out. They're just in the car.
Right.
But it goes right to the car scene, and you hear dun 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 dun, which is probably the very best song by Led Zeppelin, Cashmere. But it's not Led Zeppelin 4. It's not exactly making out music. And a lot of people say, "Oh, they fucked up. They played the wrong music." No. They didn't play the wrong music.
There's no way.
Rat played the wrong record.
Right.
It's Rat that got it wrong.
Right. There's no way Cameron Crowe, being the music guy he is,
Right.
and the people I'm sure that like took care of this very curated soundtrack,
Yep.
didn't know that Cashmere's on Physical Graffiti, right?
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah. No
And-
way.
Yeah.
And Physical Graffiti was Cashmere was the one song they could get from Zeppelin.
Right.
Which you will not hear a lot of Zeppelin songs, especially back in those days. A little bit more out there now.
Yeah, you're right. You don't hear much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thor, Ragnarok, you get the Immigrant Song.
Immigrant song. Yep.
I love Stacey's face though when she's like, "Okay," because she's like, "What the hell is this music?" Even if she knew the song, she's thinking, "I'm on a date with this guy,
Yeah.
and he probably wants to get in my pants." So
Yeah.
why are we listening to this?
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit heavy for making
It's
out.
not
Yeah.
make out petting
Right.
music.
Driving his sister's car.
I think if you had to go,
Sweet.
maybe a make out Zeppelin song, not from 4, I would say maybe No Quarter, right?
Oh wow. Yeah, it's similar. It's got a weird vibe.
But No Quarter has like,
That's not on 4 though.
no, that's what I'm saying. It's not on
Yeah.
4, but I'm saying if you had to pick a Zeppelin makeout
Oh,
song,
right. Yeah.
that's just got that very weird ethereal vibe to it, you know?
I think 4 starts with rock and roll, if I remember right.
Yeah, 4, rock and roll and
Yeah.
then Black Dog, right?
Yeah, Black Dog. Good stuff.
All right, so those are a couple of the characters. Spicoli and Mr. Hand, right? This is a whole little story arc we have
Yes.
where Candy Spicoli keeps on like essentially disrespecting
Yeah.
Mr. Hand in what ways? What does he do a few different times?
Well, he comes in late and he orders the pizza to class
Yeah.
and acts like he's arrogant and disrespectful. Talks back to him. But I love the scene when Mr. Hand first kicks him out of class. And
When
I
he
can't
tears up
remember-
his card?
Is it
Tears up
because-
his card.
Oh, yeah. And the look on Sean Penn's face, he's like, wait, no one's ever held me accountable
Right.
before.
And what does he say to him?
What does he say? You did.
Dick!
You tore up my card. What's your problem, bud?
And I think he's like, yeah, I did. Or whatever. I can't even remember what Mr. Hand says, but it's such a good scene. And then Sean Penn's scrambling to pick up the ripped up pieces on the ground. How else does he disrespect him?
It's essentially mostly just throughout
like-
the course.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
single class.
He tells him he's late one point because he had already told him no food in class. He's late because he's in the food line. He's eating an apple and he's got a bagel in the front of his pants.
Yeah, right.
So he's obviously going to eat food there again. But then as we talked about, at the end of the movie, the movie ends like at the big like kind of like spring dance or whatever it is. Sean Penn or Spicoli's going to go with his friends, and in walks fucking Mr. Hand.
Yeah.
And essentially tells him, I calculated you wasted only 8 hours of my time.
Yep.
You're going to pay for it now. He doesn't take up 8 hours of his time.
No, he doesn't. But he teaches him some history.
He teaches
Yeah.
him some history.
Yeah.
And he's satisfied. And then Spicoli says, you have a guy like me in your class every year, don't you? And he's like, yeah. It's this wonderful moment where there's like kind of like this respect, and also the great moment where when Mr. Hand is leaving his room, there's like a Playboy centerfold on the wall.
God, yeah.
And he just looks at it and he kind of shakes his head and walks out.
Yeah, his whole wall is plastered.
Yeah. You know what we haven't talked about, not that it really matters, but the brother, Sean Penn's brother, Jeff's brother in the film, who is always like introducing. He's like and every time he comes to the door, not introducing, but he like brings in Mr. Hand, and every time he has any interaction, it's just absolutely hilarious. It's very 80s. It's very 80s with the younger sibling.
So I mean, everybody, you're such a dick, or eating some pizza and learn about history. They're gonna have like their favorite Spicoli lines. Mm-hmm. My favorite Spicoli line in this whole movie, and I laugh every time I see it, is when the brother comes in and he goes, "I don't see you when you don't knock, Curtis." Like, he's essentially telling him to not be rude.
Yeah, right.
But just the way he says it is so like, it's so weird that he says this line, but it's like, I don't acknowledge you if you don't knock. And then he goes, and then the kid goes back out and knocks. Yeah. I'm like, that's like lived in family shit.
Yeah. And you see that in a lot of other movies too. Maybe they all get it. Like that. Was it Deathgasm? When those guys killed him, and then that guy made him chop his head off again. He's like, you didn't do it right.
Right.
Got to do it over.
Right.
You see that sort of theme a lot. And I wonder if that's maybe the start of it.
I laughed. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. So what else do we have? What other characters do we have that we kind of, Linda, the Phoebe Cates character, is kind of she's kind of teaching Stacy the ropes of being a young.
Yeah, like Mike and Linda sort of mirror each other in their counterparts. Yeah.
And they're both equally not fit for the roles.
Exactly.
Right. Linda, excuse me, hold on a second.
Her fiance in Chicago. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're both bragging and lying about things that just, aren't true.
Yeah, and like we talked about a little bit earlier, Linda gives her this advice that none of it comes through. At the end of the movie, during the dance, Linda has been dumped by her boyfriend, who is probably just a guy that honestly fucked her.
Right.
And, maybe she's like she's in California, so maybe he's keeping her along, possible if she ever travels out there or whatever the reason is. And he moves on. Right. He never really wanted anything more from her, So, yeah, it all feels very real, like in terms of all that stuff. Like, just thinking that you're more adult than you are, and not being adult.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty a common theme with Cameron Crowe stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah,
the coming of age sort of thing, and
Almost Famous,
kids being adults. And,
Almost Famous is a great example of that. This kid who gets thrust into a world that's not meant for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that was him. That was a true story, or at least based on his experiences.
And this is also something based on what he did.
Right.
Undercover.
Let's see.
Can we just talk about Phoebe Cates or Linda?
Yes, we can talk about Phoebe Cates.
Bathing suit, because I have had tons of bathing suits in my life. Never have I had a front hook bra. So the fact that it opens to the front.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they just did that for the scene.
Just
because
so
if it
quick,
had gone from behind. And
I would think if you wore a front hook bathing suit as a woman, you dove in, I would think there'd be a lot of openings happening. Like the water hits it and just pops it open, right?
I think, totally. Never thought of it that way. But I remember thinking that when I was younger, and then rewatching it, I was like, wait a minute, this was created for the film.
It's for us.
See, I'm glad we have a woman here for this, because it never, ever even crossed my mind.
Never crossed my mind.
Front hook bras were a thing, but bathing suits, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Never crossed my mind, but I know who it's for.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you, costume director.
And what about that music?
I knew we were going to get around to that. I didn't want to rush you into it. But let's talk a little bit about the music of this movie.
So the movie opens up to an absolutely great song. I think a perfect opening for this movie, the Go-Go's, We Got the Beat.
Now, I didn't write it down because I figured you would do all the music stuff.
I didn't write down all the songs or anything, but I did write down some artists.
But there's like 4 or 5 songs that are in this movie, including...
The best songs of the movie are not on the soundtrack.
We Got the Beat, American Girl... Yep. And
Moving in Stereo
are not on the actual
Cashmere,
soundtrack. Yeah.
And Jingle Bell Rock, I guess. Those are the songs that did not make the soundtrack.
That's kind of a strange choice, because those are, like you said, We Got the Beat is
arguably those are the best songs in the movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I guess they really pushed, I was reading they were really pushing that Raised on the Radio song, which was by a band called like the Ravens or something.
Yeah. Ravens with a Y.
Right, band Rivens or something, band that never really did anything.
Yep.
But they're in it multiple. That song is it's almost
There's a lot of, and there's also a lot of Eagles. So I'll give you some artists that are on the soundtrack. Jackson Brown, Joe Walsh, Don Henley, Don Felder. Right there, you got 3 Eagles.
3 Eagles, yeah.
The Go-Go's, not that song, but the Go-Go's. Quarter Flash, Billy Squire, Sammy Hagar, Donna Summer, Stevie Nicks, and Oingo Boingo.
Yeah, Sammy Hagar is playing during the scene when Spicoli crashes the car.
Yeah.
It's a Sammy Hagar song. And I
I
wrote
think it's called Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
well, I wrote it down here. Let me just find it real quick. I got a couple of different things here with the music. Cameron Crowe asked Todd Rundgren to record a song that he titled Attitude specifically for the movie, and it got cut. So it eventually ended up on like some Todd Rundgren like odds and ends album. He also asked Hart to record a song called Fast Times that got cut and ended up on their next studio album. So neither one of those were used in the film. I think that's kind of interesting that, like, especially like Todd Rundgren, he's like, please record this for us and write this song. And I'm sure he got paid. So in the end, who cares? But it's still kind of like, what the fuck happened, dude?
Yeah.
Right?
You asked me to record it for this fucking this movie.
You did.
You dick.
Dick. Really quickly, though, sorry to interrupt you, John.
No interruption at all.
Back to the car accident scene. Sean Penn, or when Jeff is with Forrest Whitaker's brother. I don't know why they're together.
It seems like earlier in the movie when they meet up again and he's like, you want to play some video games? So it seems like they had
right.
maybe like a pre-existing,
Right.
they had a pre-existing friendship maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
So they get in the accident, and the kid's like, my brother's going to shit. And he's like, oh, my brother's going to kill you. And Sean Penn's like, is he going to shit or is he going to kill us?
Yeah.
It's a really good line.
First, you're going to shit, and then he's
he's
going to
gonna
kill
kill
us.
us.
Yeah.
I got a lot of quotes. This is one of the ultimate quotable movies.
I'd agree. Yeah.
There's so many opportunities, so many people like different things, like that one. That one's always stood out in my mind.
Yeah.
Hey, bud, let's party. You know, when he's talking to the wave, when he in the dream sequence.
Oh, well,
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually-
The two girls.
in that
Yeah.
dream sequence with the 2 girls and the sportscaster, who's a real sportscaster, Sean Penn improvised the line about, where'd you get the jacket? And he says, the studio gave it to me. And the girls laugh. That was all unscripted.
Yeah, right.
He just said that. And also another line that he says, which is a great line, that was unscripted, was when he goes into the class and Mr. Hand's like giving him shit the first time. And he goes, I know that, dude.
I know that, dude.
That was unscripted.
That's another great line. Yep. Another great line from Brad. When I think this is early on, when that dude's trying to get his money back. He said,
the breakfast?
your sign says 100% guaranteed you more. and Brad is getting so flustered and so pissed off. He goes, and his voice cracks, and it's so good. He's like, mister, if you don't shut up, I'm going to kick 100% of your ass.
It is good. And that guy was like an OG Karen. Right?
Yeah,
Like an
oh,
OG.
totally.
And not to mention, like, it was $275. Like, even then, I know $275 was more valuable then.
Yeah.
But just fucking, just enjoy your breakfast.
Right.
And that
If you don't
company,
like it, just move
All
on.
American Burgers got to get rid of that sign
Yeah.
because that sign it basically says anybody can just come up here and ask for their money back
Yeah.
for no fucking reason. Get rid of the fucking sign. Or what Brad should have done is the manager apparently was in the next room, in the back room. He should have just called him and said, deal with this fucking
Right.
clown shoes.
Said, I got to fill out forms. Forms? Just fucking give him $2 back.
$275.
And the
yeah.
guy's like, you're using profanity and you threatened my life or something.
Right.
Or whatever. Oh, it's so funny.
OG Karen.
So let's see. Another
OG
good
Karen.
Brad is after he's done masturbating. And as soon as Phoebe Cates leaves, he's like, geez, doesn't anyone fucking knock anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another great.
Well,
Jeff-
I mean, my question is, geez, lock the fucking door.
Oh, yeah.
right. Who doesn't lock the door?
Look, I'll just say this real quick. I manage a retail establishment. Some of my employees never lock the fucking door.
Ugh.
I don't catch masturbation, but I go back to take a leak. I open the door and they're standing there pissing in the toilet. And they always act like I'm the fuck. I literally have yelled, lock the fucking door. Like, I don't
And
see
your
it.
lock works.
And the lock works 100%.
Because the
when
lock
I
at the
go in-
Strand does not work.
no, and I
You can lock it, but you can still open the door even while it's
understand that. My lock works 100%.
Works good.
Because I lock it, and I've had people try to walk in, and guess what happens? They don't get in, and I'm there pissing, my dick's hanging out. But these guys, I gotta yell, and it's always old, it's like my older employees.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just don't believe in locks, but I've seen Luckily, the toilet faces like the back.
Oh, right.
Because I've never
So they're not
seen
facing
I've
you.
never seen an old
You
guy's
see a
dick.
full schlong when you
Right.
walk in.
But like I've walked in, I had a guy, he passed away a few years ago. Don, God rest his soul, super nice guy.
God bless you, Don.
Older guy, God bless you. He was in the 70s. He never locked that fucking door. And I never could. It was the thing where like you just can't hear the hum of the fan or anything. So I go in there to take a piss, and there's Don fucking pissing away, and then getting irritated at me because I walked in on him, and I would just say, "Lock the fucking door, Don."
Man, oh,
Never
man.
lock the fucking door. Never lock the fucking door. God rest you, Don.
Yeah, another good one from Spicoli right at the end of the movie when doesn't Brad just tell him, why don't you just get a job? He's like, why would I need a job? Well, you need money. He goes, no, all I need is some tasty waves, a cool bud, and I'm fine.
Yep. Yep.
So great.
So great.
Whoa, what does he say? Whoa, Hamilton! Like when Brad essentially thwarts the robber.
Yeah.
What is his line? Something like, "Whoa, way to go, Hamilton!" I think
Yeah,
that's
something
what it
like
is.
that, yeah.
Any other
I
quotes?
love how he always gives Brad shit though, because he always comes into his establishment. He like takes off his shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're
What
right.
At the beginning.
Do you remember the sign, Candy?
Is it no shirt, no spitting? Oh, it was three things.
No shirt, no shoes, no dice.
No dice.
No dice.
Because they all repeat it after
They
him.
all say it.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
That was
I
that-
knew it was three things.
That was still at Brad's moment of being like a big man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Read the sign, live the sign. He's like, he's talking to him like that.
Another good one from Mike from Damone. You are a wuss, part wimp and part pussy. And one of my favorites that it's just hilarious. I don't think this is a quoted line or anything, but it's when they're going into the teacher there, Mr. Vargas, is taking him to see the dead body.
Oh, right.
And Sean Penn is with him, and he does a line. Are you in my class? Well, I am today, bud. But there's where he talks about the guy who's on the table, and he goes, "This gentleman here is named Arthur. Arthur was good enough to die last week
Yeah.
of heart failure, and we're fortunate enough today to see his body in this pristine state."
I like the fact
It's
that
so fucking funny.
I like the fact that earlier in the movie, that is a great line. Earlier in the movie, when they're talking about the trip to the morgue, but it's early in the school year.
Yeah.
Because this movie, another thing this movie does very deftly and very well is it starts at the beginning of the school year. We get to Christmas time, right? They denote things very slyly, and then it ends with the summer again. Even though they never say it, it goes through the course of a whole school year.
Yeah.
But when they're talking in his class, and one of the kids is like, "Is it true that the final exam he's going to hold up pieces of the body and have us say what they are?" And in your head, you're thinking, "Oh, that just is like an urban legend rumor." And then when they get to that scene, he pulls like a spleen out and holds it up, like you know. I just thought that was fucking funny that that's real.
Yeah. And remember in the cadaver scene, I forget. It's like there's a monetary amount, I guess, that people get to donate their bodies.
Yes.
Oh, right.
And Sean Penn is like righteous compensation, or he says something.
Because he said, how much? He goes,
$25.
25. And then the other guy goes, 30.
Yeah.
He goes, righteous bucks, dude.
Righteous bucks.
Something like that. Oh, man. This is such a good movie.
It's a hang movie. It feels to me like Dazed and Confused, which obviously came much later.
Yeah.
One we did a long time ago that I fell in love with, Everybody Wants Some, also made by Richard Linklater, who made Dazed and Confused. It's a special type of movie that, you know, like, it reminds me very much of, like, I think Quentin Tarantino made his with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right.
Where it's like, there's a plot here, but it's like there's a thin strand of a plot in Fast Times. It's just a bunch of
It's not
kids.
really a plot. Yeah, like you're, go on.
It's following like
Yeah.
different kids' lives and how they intersect with other kids, right? And just a course of a year. And I like stuff like that. I like when I just can feel like I watch a movie and I feel like I know the characters and almost like I feel like I'm in it with them, you know, and I want to see how things turn out. I like movies like that. So
I mean, it's not giving you a lot of growth of character. There is a little.
well, there is.
There's
because-
some arcs and there's some ups and downs and stuff, but it's giving you, I feel, just like a true representation of like a year in the life.
right, and it's also giving you the growth of characters that where we leave them off, they're not the people they're going to be in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, even though it's character growth, it's like they're still kids.
Yes.
So we get to see them maybe, and again, like you said, I think Candy was really important, is they are all good kids in the end.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Damone probably is the one who does the most damage in terms of what he does, but they make it clear. Like there are kids out there in schools that we all dealt with when we were in school, and there are kids out there now that like would get their friend's girlfriend pregnant and never give a shit about it.
Yeah.
You can literally read in his face when he's about to have sex with her
Yeah.
and having sex with her that he 100% knows that he's fucking up.
Yes.
Yep.
In very real fashion that many
He
people
just wants to leave right away.
he wants to leave right away because he feels some form of shame.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying we've all been there before, but many people in the history of time have done things like that and gone, what the fuck did I just do?
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
he's
there's
literally
even not, I wouldn't say redemption, but there's reconciliation at the end with him and Rat.
with him. There is. And you know what? Rat's a better friend than I think I would have ever been.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because at 17 or 18, I wouldn't know what I know now where I could say, you know what? He does feel shame.
Yeah.
He does feel bad. He's made it. I would just be like, you gotta fucking go.
Yeah.
So Rat kind of proves that he's even like a really cool guy, that he's willing to just say, you know what? We all make mistakes. And, he probably also, and I don't mean to put this all on her. He probably sees how Stacy is in a way and it's not all Damone's fault.
Right.
She's acting a little bit odd too. I don't know.
But didn't Rat see Stacy flirting with Mike in the pool?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I think he noticed it in the pool, and that was like the turning point when they went to the pool party.
Yes.
Where she suddenly was like Mrs. Mike Damone and everything.
Right, which is so weird.
Yeah, she's definitely Stacy definitely has some issues, and all these kids have issues.
Yeah.
Stacy's definitely a very confused young girl in this film.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Mike not show up to help Stacy when
Yeah,
she had her appointment because he didn't have the money?
He said he was going to show up. He said he was going to get the money.
Yeah.
He tried like hell to get the money.
Right.
He didn't get it, and he didn't show up.
He didn't show up, but he also didn't. So the problem with that scene is he could have gone with her for support.
Yes.
And, she obviously paid for it somehow.
Yep.
So maybe he could have said, I'll pay you back. But, he's in the garage with his dad working on
Right.
something. He just completely what a lot of kids might do.
That's where his whole, excuse all
His
just fell
failure.
apart.
And he pays for it because everybody in school knows. And he gets a little prick painted on his car.
On his
and
gremlin.
On his
Right,
gremlin.
right.
He has to go inside and get a piece of cardboard and tape it over it.
I love it. And on his locker, Phoebe Cates is like, I'm having none of this.
Yeah, and that's one of the scenes that endears you to the Phoebe Cates character as well, is even though she, is kind of like just passing on this bad information to Stacy,
Yep.
she's also fiercely protective of her.
She
is.
And
Yeah.
she's the one
He's not a person. He's a little prick.
right.
Yeah.
And that becomes his whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we just recently do a movie where they give you what happened to the characters after? Because this is one of those movies.
Yeah,
where
we get, I know we did.
we just did.
I'm never
recently.
going to tell you what it was though.
So I'm going to go over what the end of, because this movie ends kind of like the way it begins. Kind of like back in the mall.
Midstream of life.
Yeah, people, reconnecting and stuff like that. And I really love the ending of this movie. But then, we get this is what happened to this character after. So Brad became the manager of the Mighty Mart.
On June 12th,
On
right?
June 12th.
Yeah, I remember
June
the
12th.
date, yeah.
Mike Damone, busted for scalping Ozzy Osbourne tickets, now working at 7-Eleven.
Which is great in that because earlier in the movie, I don't remember what point it is, but he's trying to scalp tickets.
Yeah.
And someone's blocking him doing it, or he goes, if I don't sell these tickets, I'm gonna have to work at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, right.
You want that?
It's perfect. Linda Barrett, attending college in Riverside, now living with her abnormal psych professor.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. Rat and Stacy having a passionate love affair, but still haven't gone all the way.
Yep.
I like that. Mr. Hand, convinced everyone is on dope.
Yeah.
He's always been convinced of that. Jess Spicoli saved Brooke Shields from drowning. Blows reward money hiring Van Halen to play at his birthday party.
Yeah. Yep. I like one of the things that I like about Mr. Hand is like he's this like kind of like very serious character, but when he says hello to everybody, it's aloha. There's something about that just
Yeah.
it seems almost like, I don't want to say it's a silly way to say hi to somebody. It doesn't seem as rough as you would
Right.
think this guy would be. You know, aloha, my name is Mr. Hand.
Is it Mr. Hand's class at the end when all the kids are cheating and like the guys got the answers?
No,
inside of his
Vargas.
class? Oh, it's Vargas.
Vargas,
Okay.
yeah,
Vargas.
yeah. They've
And
all
he's
got
looking a
different.
different way.
They've all got different cheating methods. The glasses.
The,
One
like,
of them has a.
little dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Something's under. Yeah,
So bad.
All right,
good stuff.
let's do the box office, Master.
This country, you gotta make the money first.
All right. So budget of $5 million, box office of $27.1 million.
Big hit. Big hit back in the day.
Very good. They did so much better than they expected, like you said before, earlier, just released on the West Coast, but totally took off. So that weekend of August 13th, 1982, this came in number 7 that weekend. And there was 3 movies that were released that week. Friday the 13th, Part 3
In 3D.
in 3D. That was the number 1 grossing movie of the week, $9.4 million. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope re-release
Okay.
was also released that week, $3.7 million. Fast Times at Ridgemont High came in number 7 at 2.5. Now, there's some other good movies here. Number 4, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Officer and a Gentleman, number 3.
Yeah.
And E.T., the Extraterrestrial, at number 2 that weekend. In its 10th week, by the way.
Well,
10th week. And
back
it's
in the
still
day.
number 2.
Back in the day.
Yep. So on the year 1982, Fast Times at Ridgemont High came in 29th. Not too bad. All right. Number 10 that year, Annie. Number 9, Best Little Whorehouse. Number 8, Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
Number 7, 48 Hours. Number 6, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Excellent movie. Number 5, Porky's, surprisingly.
Oh, wow.
At over 100 million.
Yeah.
Yep. Number 4, Rocky 3. Number 3, An Officer and a Gentleman. Number 2, Tootsie.
Okay.
And number 1, obviously, E.T.
E.T.
Yep. So I'll give you just a fun little thing. Fast Times at Ridgemont High came in at 29 at 27 million. 2 other movies all came in at 27 million. They're only separated by hundreds of dollars. Number 27, Blade Runner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Big
good
flop.
Good movie, but
Big flop at the
big
time,
flop,
yeah.
Number 28, Airplane 2. The
sequel. Yeah.
Yeah. And number 29, Fast Times.
Sonny Bono and Airplane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Simon. He's gone to jelly. Is that
Blow Rock.
William Shatner's in that?
Nice.
He's shh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Airplane
Such
2
a good scene.
is very good. Is very good.
Blinking and beeping. Oh, I love that scene with Shatner.
I like when he has the he's in the plane, but he's got a fucking a periscope, and he's looking around and he sees the Enterprise, and then he just pulls his face away and he's like, no.
So good. So good.
All right, so that's the box office. I did have one piece of cast trivia that I see on my notes here that I forgot to throw out there.
Yep.
The original choice to play Linda was Justine Bateman,
That's right.
and she said no because she just got the job for Family Ties,
Family Ties,
which works out for her too.
Yeah.
You know, works out for her too.
A great scene early on when Mr. Hand passes out the quizzes.
Everybody smells the
Everybody
dittos.
picks up the paper and smells
Yeah.
it. It was because of the machines back then. They weren't photocopy machines or like ditto machines. Or
I know. I remember the
and they
smell.
had
Print
a
it?
unique, good smell. And so some other actors involved with this movie that weren't in it. Ralph Macchio.
He asked for too much money, I read.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because this is pre-Karate Kid, pre-Outsiders.
Yep.
Yeah, that's weird.
And was he the one that didn't want to read too?
I just read he just wanted more money than they were willing to give him.
Yep. Matthew Broderick, Meg Tilly, Michelle Pfeiffer, Lori Laughlin, Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, someone loves that. Kelly Preston, Rosanna Arquette, Carrie Fisher, Ali Sheedy, and D.B. Sweeney.
Carrie Fisher.
Yep.
Huh,
That doesn't
interesting.
make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe she was
pretty
friends with
amazing.
Amy or something.
And Van Sneakers became popular
the
because
checker-
of this movie. Yep,
the checkered
sneaker.
design
Which, oh my
sneakers.
God, I am wearing right now.
Not the checker ones, are you? Yeah. Oh, do you have them on? There you go.
I do.
Yeah, I guess they
I
were
wear them a lot.
popular to an extent, but then this movie like made them, you know, like the Reese's
Yeah, they
Pieces
made
of
it a
ET.
national, like a
Right.
brand name that
Yeah.
people know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's my skull. All right, let's rate this thing.
Are those your grades?
Yeah. I don't think that I deserved an F. Do you?
All right,
Yeah.
so it's the point of the show where we talk about how we feel about the movie. and give it a number rating. 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scale optional. I'll go first. I really enjoy this movie. When we were trying to figure out what to do for the second movie to record tonight, I kind of told Lloyd, figure it out. We'll do this. And we had a couple of different options. And then I had rewatched this last year,
Right.
for the first time in a few years. And I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind watching that again and talking about it.
I gave you a list with maybe 10 movies.
Yeah.
And that was in there, and you replied immediately, that's a good movie.
It
Let's
popped
just do
off.
that.
Yeah. And we don't do a lot of comedy movies on here because comedy movies tend to, we've talked about it before,
Right.
become quote fests. And, but I thought
maybe they don't translate well to this because you're talking about comedy. Hey, remember that time they did this and that was funny?
right. Or like I said, it just becomes like, let's quote this over.
Yeah.
We did a quote section, but I mean, that's all you do sometimes. And I thought this is deeper.
Yeah.
The story's deeper. I think it'd be a fun one to talk about. So yeah, I enjoy the shit out of this movie. I'm shocked and pissed at myself. I don't own it. I had to rent it on Amazon Prime to watch
get
it
the
again.
Criterion.
So I'm gonna get the Criterion. I looked it up on Amazon the next day. It was like 22. I'm gonna wait till it goes down a little bit, but I'm gonna get it. I gave it a 4. I wholeheartedly enjoy this movie. I think it's again, there's really no plot to it, but it's an ultimate hang movie. You end up liking all the characters. There's nobody in the end, that you're like, they don't stick with anybody long enough to get tired of them. Right. They do a very good job of jumping between the characters and then bridging the characters so that, you're with Damone for a little while, then you're with Ratner, then you're with Brad, and you go through all this stuff.
Yep.
And it was very relatable growing up, even though this is Ridgemont, California, a fake place, and we're in Connecticut and Candy grew up in Florida. It's still very relatable.
Yeah.
There's so many scenes in this that I go, fuck, I remember that. I remember going to school at a period in my life, even though I was younger, where girls were like Pat Benatar, right? Like,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
3 Pat Benatars.
3 Pat Benatars. Mine was more Madonna.
Yeah.
Like I remember there being multiple Madonna type girls, but I'm a couple years past this.
Yep. Mine was Pat Benatar.
Yeah. So, all right, Candy, let's go over to you. What do you give 1982's 40th anniversary, by the way?
Yeah.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Fast Times. What do you give Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
I also give it a 4.
A 4?
I think Amy Heckerling nailed it. I think you feel like you're with them, hanging out with them. I think the casting was spot on. I can't imagine, hearing the alternative, options. I can't even imagine any of those people playing the roles. And it's quotable, and it's delightful. It's a delightful film.
Yeah.
And even though there are things that people don't like to talk about that took place in the film, it's real life. And I just think it's a very well done, enjoyable. It's a classic.
Manster, you gonna ruin it or you gonna stay in our ballpark? I'm thinking you're gonna stay in our ballpark, but if you give it a 1, I'm gonna be very shocked.
Here we go. Like I said, I own this Criterion movie, so it's great. It's a wonderful slice of life movie. It's from my time. It's 1982. I'm in school in 1982. It's so relatable to me.
You're in your 4th year of medical school at this point, right?
I'm a grandfather in 1982.
It's so quotable. It's so memorable visually, and with the quotes. It's 4. I'm going to give it a 4. So we're 4 across the board.
4 across the board.
Great music. There's nothing wrong with this movie.
Yeah, the soundtrack is super important to this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it would make it any worse, but it certainly couldn't probably get any better.
Yeah.
Than what it is. All right, so Manster, give out some of our socials and where they could find us, where the folks out there listening can find us.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. And if you would, go ahead. If you could rate us on any of those, that'd be great. Nice 5-star review. You can go on the YouTube channel, subscribe to that. You can get podcasts. Facebook and YouTube, it's The Pint, a Pop Culture Podcast, and Instagram, Twitter, at The Pint Podcast. And as a Patreon, you can go be a Pint Insider like Candy is. And just go to www.patreon.com/thepint.
Yeah, check it out. We have 2 series that are exclusive to Patreon. So if you've been thinking, I'm not sure, we got Scary Larry's House of Horrors Classics, where we're doing a 5-episode series with our buddy Larry Dwyer. We're not talking about like the some of the movies Larry picks.
Yeah, we're not talking about Rubber
or Street Trash, which are all fun to do. We've already discussed The Lost Boys, The Evil Dead, We'll be doing Phantasm soon. And then summertime 1990s is something I just started. If a movie came out from 1990 to 1999 between May 1st and August 31st, it's a summertime movie to me. And Larry and I just did Backdraft. The next one that you guys voted for, the Patreons voted for, is 1996's The Frighteners, which you mentioned at some point, I think, on our last episode we recorded. So
I just turned that on 2 days ago.
Well, get ready for it because we're doing it, and you only can hear those series over there. On the main feed, you still get great stuff like the Triple T's, the SFA 80s, and those are also over on the Patreon. So just get the Patreon. It's $2.50 a month. All right? It's a lot of fun, and I think we put out a lot of stuff. So there's always something to listen to. Until next time, see ya.
See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!